Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, all head to Charlotte this weekend for the battle at the Charlotte Roval. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Betting Preview Show. I'm your host, Derek Yoder, and I am joined by Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome in. If you're watching on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show Twitter account, hello as well. And for everybody listening on X Spaces, what is up? We have a lot to cover here tonight. Very excited as the series, both Xfinity and the Cup Series, head to the Charlotte Roval. It is going to be a jam-packed racing weekend. Finally getting back to a track here where there's going to be a little bit more from a handicapping perspective. We should have a little bit more dialed in this week. So I'm looking forward to that. The NASCAR Betting Preview Show is presented by Atlas Hair. Atlas is an elite line of hairstyling products with cologne fragrances. So get started today at atlashair.com and use the promo code NASCAR for 20% off your entire order. That's atlashair.com, ATLASHAIR.com. And again, pumped to chat a little bit here this evening as we look at some of the road course elements. And, I mentioned the gentleman that's going to be joining us. If this is your first time, you'll be able to hear Phil of the Full Tank with Phil podcast. And Phil, you dropped your podcast last night. One thing about the baseball playoffs, especially when the Phillies are in it, I know I'm going to get a podcast a little bit earlier. So that was a pleasant treat at about 8:30 last night. So how are you doing?
Derek, I'm doing good. I'm, cautiously optimistic about the Phils tonight. And
Sure.
if you're watching on YouTube, my setup's a little bit different because I am switched around so I could face the television and speak with you tonight about the Charlotte Roval at the same time. So we're going to see if I can multitask very well. But yeah, super pumped to, get back to non-super speedway racing, I guess, and talk about all the news and notes this week. But as far as the Phillies are concerned, we'll be starting up in about 5 minutes. So if I make crazy gyrations when you're talking or when Mark hops on, don't let it distract you. It's just part of my life.
Well, like I said, I expect updates as I'm doing this and not able to watch the game. I expect updates, assuming they're in our favor. Anybody that's listening on YouTube, following and watching right now, make sure you drop a hello. We'd love to know who is checking us out here tonight. And, as more people continue to file in on X Spaces, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I don't know about you, Phil. Actually, I do. I mean, listening to your podcast a little bit since you did the podcast last night, still excited, eager, ready to go for this weekend, or what's the vibes in your world from a handicapping perspective?
Yeah, I'm actually, so when I recorded the podcast, it was definitely earlier than I've used to record it this year. So I was really just given the stuff from DraftKings and a little bit of stuff from Caesars. And since then we've seen more books release odds. And to be honest, the last couple of weeks, I've been saying how I don't like the top 10 market. And I feel like it's bounced back, especially since I recorded. I called out 3 guys for top 10s. I said, these are my favorite picks of the week. And since then, we've seen other books give us odds that are more favorable to the gambler. So I'm excited about that. And this is a complete opposite of the week before, where not even tuning in on Saturday for practice and qualifying. This weekend, we're back at it. We're waiting to see how that works out and saving some of the bets that we want to play. If you do play it that way, where you have a certain amount of money you like to spend max, I'm definitely holding out to see what we got after practice and qualifying, because we've been successful on the podcast this year on road courses waiting. So it'll be interesting.
Well, I got to give you a call out because, you and I do the Truck Series podcast on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show feed. And you called out Brett Moffitt last week and you called out Ryan Blaney on this show. So you were doing pretty well. You called out specifically even Moffitt over Kligerman, which hit by one or two spots. I mean, it was pretty close at the end.
Kligerman made it interesting. That's for sure.
He
I mean,
did.
it was funny. Super Speedway, the guys that we were fading, people like Kligerman in the Truck Series, and then the guys in the Cup Series, like the guys we were fading didn't really fade. They hung in there, so props to them. But lucky to do that with Moffitt over Kligerman, and and we talked about Blaney last week. He owed us one. He owed me and SC one after eating all that bread for him. Which I see Cody in the audience. He hit us afterwards, like, how is that a punishment? And I found that funny after the fact. Once I got it down, I found that funny. So shout out Cody, because Texas Roadhouse bread is delicious. It was just a lot.
It was. I got to give you a shout out. I mean, I see our boy SC here. He is watching on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in, man. He gave us a little bit of a bread emoji. So you were a trooper. I'll give you that. You were definitely a trooper all the way through. And then we did the betting or the Truck Series podcast, and you were just fighting all the way through. There was no hesitation. You just kept going. So that was a lot of fun. And again, appreciate you guys following and watching us here on YouTube. So like I said, the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, all head to the Charlotte Roval this weekend. This is the final road course event of 2023. And, it's also a cutoff race for both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. So it's going to be crazy to see how everything plays out, because if you look at some of these cut lines, especially in the Cup Series, you got guys like Kyle Busch, who's 26 points out. He's currently in last. What does he do? How does he strategize to get his car up there? Obviously, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, two guys that, have had good success on road courses. Ryan Blaney, a winner of this race a number of years back. William Byron just won the most recent road course at Watkins Glen. So those guys are going to have it a little easier this week, where, they're not points racing. They're just going for the win, trying to get more of those playoff points as they are locked into the round of 8. So it's going to be fun to really watch how all the different strategies come into play this weekend amongst both series. So that'll be a fun thing to keep an eye on. But let's do this. If you're new to the show, I want to kind of go over the show outline, and then we'll dive into some of the breakdowns of what Phil and Mark, SKYBOX NASCAR, who will be joining us here in a little bit, has to say. So for anybody that's new, we're going to do it like this. Rapid fire segments, a new segment we started doing. It's been a huge hit, so we're going to do that. We'll do some track facts, and we'll go over the odds board. And I want to get the thoughts here of the guys from the head-to-head, finishing position, outright, and what their best bet is. So, Phil, you ready to just dive right into some of the rapid fire?
I'll do my best. I know I get chirped that I'm not so rapid in my response, but I'll try to see what if we could speed it up.
Don't let them mess with you. So, all right, here's the first question for you. And anybody that's watching on YouTube or listening on X Spaces, NASCAR Betting Preview Show, feel free to chime in wherever you'd like. We'll get your stuff right up here. So Ryan Blaney gets it done, Phil, at Talladega. What's your outlook on him going forward throughout the playoffs?
Well, I'm happy that I have a championship bet on him, just because I feel like I don't have to do, he's in the round of 8. Anything could happen at that point with those guys, especially on mile and a halfs. Like people, like we saw last year, Christopher Bell gets wiped out at Vegas. Like he was cruising in the season at that point, and then he's getting knocked out. So things can happen, and I am cautiously optimistic. I see Worm says he doesn't make the Final Four, and I think that's pretty, standard take. But I'm happy that he's in it and he's given himself a shot. But Penske's been slower, and at this point I'm just like, you know what, that 12-1 ticket that I have from January, it's giving me a little bit more life now that he's got that win.
Yeah, when you said 12-1 on your podcast, I was like, man, that felt a little short. I didn't know when you bought that.
January 1st.
Yep. First bet of the year. There you go. I like it. SC says he got it at 14-1. The one thing with Blaney I was thinking about, which is why I put that question in there, when you look at some of the tracks coming up for him, forget the Roval, because obviously he's already advanced in the round of 8. But you look at Vegas. Vegas, obviously, Penske has run there before, run well there before. I know he didn't. I don't think he ran all that well back in March when they were there. But if we look at what happened last year at Homestead, he was running really well all day. Wasn't going to win. Obviously, Larson had the field covered, but he spun out on pit road. So it's one of those things where, okay, that's interesting. And then you look at Martinsville. He's got like 10 in a row, top 10s or whatever it was, 12 of the last 13. He runs really well there. So it would be interesting to see. And then when I was at the race last year and Warren was there, when we were watching, he had the best car at Phoenix. Team orders, keep Chastain behind. Logano wins the championship. So it'll be really interesting in this round. I wrote him off as well, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of a player he is if he can keep some momentum going into that round, especially next week at Vegas.
The only thing, like, for people that have a ticket on him, whether it's to advance or whatever, or win the championship, like, clearly, if you get to Phoenix, all bets are off, right?
Oh yeah,
anything could happen. Yeah. But the only thing that's different is, like, now that he's locked in, we've never seen this really ever with Penske, where Blaney has like full attention. Like, Logano's always been there, right? But he's not this year. So the whole organization is behind the 12 car. So whatever that means, we'll see. So they get a week in advance to look ahead to Vegas, and hopefully that pays off for them if you're a fan of the 12 car.
Worm saying on YouTube he'll trade that ticket with you if you want. If you're gonna do that, Phil, I think he should eat he should eat some of those Texas Roadhouse.
What did he say? He wants the ticket, or
he said he would trade the ticket with you. No, he said he would trade. Oh, he said, and good point. So he said he would trade his KFB ticket for your Blaney ticket if you want. That's why I think you should make him eat some rolls. So if you're going to do something like that. So, all right. So then that's the conversation on Ryan Blaney. This is actually a perfect segue into Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, minus 26 outside the cut line. We talked about this guy throughout the year. Obviously got a win at Auto Club, second race with RCR. There's a lot of good momentum. And now this guy could not be colder. So, what happens to Kyle Busch this weekend? Does he get in, or does he miss the round of 8?
I mean, I think it's appointment television to just watch what he does this weekend, because he's not a lame duck this season at road courses. I mean, I talked about him when I was, on my podcast. I was like, look, if you're looking for, because I was taking some of the chalky picks for outrights, but if you want an outright pick, I was like, here you go. Like, right now I see him at 16-1. He's finished twice, second place on road courses this season. The last two haven't been great to him, but the fact is, it's a must win. Like, there's no way. Some of the other guys might be able to do something to advance if there's problems ahead of them on the cut line with those guys, but Kyle's got to win. And so because of that, and because he's had a car that's been relatively strong this season on road courses, at least the start of the year, I think it's going to be great, because they're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to get off cycle if they don't come out and practice and qualifying, lights on fire. So it's a must win. Can he do it? I think it would be kind of miracle status if he pulls it off, but it's in the realm of possibility. So we'll see. I just think at a bare minimum, whether he pulls it off or doesn't, it's going to be really fun to watch him do that. Now, as far as the season, like you said, ice cold, clearly that KBM deal, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it seems like it came about quickly, selling the Truck Series team, but I don't know. His season must have just been like kind of messed up mentally. Last year he did it when he was leaving, Joe Gibbs and signing the deal with RCR. And now this year it's just like something else. So he's had like mid-season mental hurdles the last few years, really, if you want to go back further. So strange.
Yeah, I would say strange indeed. And, but it'll be interesting, like you said, appointment television to see what the 8 team does, because there's going to be different strategies this weekend. And I'm looking forward to hearing what some of the guys in the audience have to say this week. And as Mark Harris, aka SKYBOX NASCAR, gets ready to come up and join us here, it'll be interesting to hear some of his philosophies as well, as we kind of get into what's going to happen on Sunday. So, Mark, I teed you up there real quick. You got all the work stuff on. You're ready to go. Appreciate you joining as always. You can take a little bit of a deep breath. How we doing? Are you ready to rip? You ready to go this weekend?
I'm always ready to rip, Derek. All right. Everybody hear me? Everybody's good? Everything's
good?
Oh, wow. All right. We took the mobile podcast studio and set it up in about 7 minutes. So
love it.
I apologize. I don't have lights up either. So I look like I'm in a dungeon. So my bad.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually I would be more excited about this weekend, except for the fact that we have stage cautions. I'm sure you guys have already talked about that.
We didn't yet.
But I'm pretty excited. I like road courses. I don't know what your question was because I'm still in the middle of my deep breath. But excited to be here nonetheless.
That was my question. How you doing? How you feeling? Like I said, take a deep breath. We're good to go. Everybody on YouTube can chime in and see you in that dungeon. I'm going to set you up here with a question here first, Mark. I threw a few at Phil, but I'm curious to hear from you. When we look at 2 drivers on Sunday, which one has a better finish, Michael McDowell or Chris Buescher?
Oh, wow. I feel like they're very equal. I would say So Buescher is points racing. McDowell is not. Although I did hear an argument that I'll touch on later that kind of debunks that. But I'm gonna go with McDowell. I think his career on road courses is much better. I think Buescher's riding this momentum train of all momentum trains. And it's going to come to an end at some point. Now, if RFK is the next Hendrick Motorsports, maybe. Okay. But yeah, everybody laughs at that, right? It's possible. It's possible. But
it is possible.
I think the Buescher train runs out now. What is he, like 9 of the last 11 road course races finished in the top 10 or 8 of 11, something crazy. But McDowell went out and dominated, the Indy road course. So I'm going to go with McDowell here. I think McDowell gets it done.
Okay, so you're going to go with McDowell in that. Worm agrees with you as well. And like, you guys were saying about Buescher's going for points. And it'll be interesting to see really what happens. I do hate the element that we do have stage breaks. And Phil, you're the stats guy. So, like, who's finished where, however many times. I don't know how many times in a row Buescher's finished top 10 or what their head-to-heads really are. But that'll be an interesting matchup for sure. So, Phil, I got to throw this at you. We know the schedule was released today. What were your quick thoughts when you saw it come out?
Quick thoughts, like, they made changes to the playoff structure, and I just, don't really know why. We're throwing Watkins Glen. Now we have 2 road courses out of the 9 lead-up races, which I was comfortable with one. The Roval being back is interesting. I thought we might have some hope that gets eliminated. Atlanta being in the playoffs. I know that some of you guys love Atlanta. But I don't hate it.
Feel like me.
No, I mean, there's a lot of folks that love Atlanta. I am not hating on what we saw, but if you do consider a super speedway, then you got 2 big unknowns in the playoffs. I don't think that's great. So it's great for the Netflix crowd, I think, as we say, you get those folks, but for the entertainment factor, it is going to be entertaining. But from the best cars making it to the end of the year standpoint, I think we lose out a little bit. So we get Bristol back, happy with that. Get rid of the dirt. Obviously, we've got the Olympics in the middle of the year. What are you going to do? Can't do anything with that. So it's going to be a long stretch before they get a week off, and that's going to be really interesting to see which teams are able to kind of overcome that huge stretch of races back to back. It's going to be a battle of attrition in the first part of the year.
I know, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, I think, and I tweeted this out from a new fan. If you're a new fan coming in, I think it's a win for you, especially in those first 3 races. You got the Clash to kind of set you up for the Daytona 500, and then you get to see Atlanta. Unfortunately, the races are not always like that. So it is from there, it's going to be a little bit of a drop off, but hopefully, for the new fans coming in, they'll be able to learn enough. But I don't like the Netflix element, like you said. I mean, this is a sport. And Brian and I were talking about on the All Things Go podcast this morning. This is a sport. This is an entertainment industry, but it should not just be entertainment. This is also what these guys, these teams, their livelihoods are going for. And so when you look at the schedule come out and you're like, wow, Daytona, Darlington as the regular season cutoff, then Atlanta, and then you got Watkins Glen, Talladega, the Roval. It's like from Daytona through the Roval, which is like the majority of playoffs. You like, how do you bet it? Like, how do you go out and be like, I have an edge here? So it's going to be extremely difficult. But in, like you said, about the Olympic element as well. So Mark, I'm going to throw this at you. I don't know if you got to look at the schedule yet. We got Iowa that just joined the schedule. The Xfinity Series, the truck or the Cup Series will be there on Father's Day. The U.S. Open that'll be racing then that night. Any hot takes that you found from the schedule at all?
So I haven't looked at the whole schedule, but I obviously saw what was released the last few days or so. And I don't know if this is a hot take per se, because I disagree with what I'm about to say, but Bristol Spring going back to concrete is probably the worst thing they could have done for ratings. It's the worst thing they could have done for, I would say, the entertainment part of our sport. The dirt race is crazy. It's nonsense. As a gambler, I hate it, obviously.
Yeah.
So going back to concrete, I love. Me personally, I think a lot of us in this X Spaces and YouTube love going back to concrete. Absolutely. But from a ratings perspective, from a viewership perspective, from an eyes, did it run its course already? We'll never know because we're going back to concrete. I think attendance is going to be down. I saw a bunch of keyboard warriors talking about the weather that time of year in East Tennessee, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to say for the overall sculpture of NASCAR, not just take the gambling out of it, the overall scene of NASCAR getting off of dirt, going to the concrete in the spring was a bad move.
Okay, it was a bad move. Interesting. I've not heard that side. Phil, you kind of not rolled your eyes, but you made a little face there.
I'm not rolling eyes. I keep looking up at the Phillies, but
that's true.
My take on that is, if you like dirt on the schedule, then this may be an opportunity for NASCAR to do the right thing, which is don't pour dirt on Bristol. Find a dirt track that actually is built for that and bring them there. Race at a real dirt track. And if you want to put that on the calendar at some point, then I'll be okay with that. But and I saw SC say one Bristol race. I understand where that point's coming from. But I'm willing to give it, another year. I want to see what Bristol looks like next year. They know that it hasn't been great at night. We'll see how it is during the day. In that time of year, maybe it's better racing. Maybe they have time to prepare and try to get a package that works. But I'm not willing to give up on the concrete Bristol in the daytime just yet.
I put a question here down below for you here, Phil. Gibbs or Bowman? Who has a better finish on Sunday?
Well,
and I made this one specific for you because of your podcast last night.
Yeah. Talked about both these guys. I'll probably be talking about one of them when we get to the segment, but I think Gibbs has a higher ceiling than Bowman just based off of his numbers this season. So you got a situation where Bowman's really good at the Roval, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And Gibbs has been solid. Gibbs has put up top 5 numbers this season on the road course track. So I'm going to go with Gibbs just because he's been learning, he's been improving and getting better each start. I think, what we've seen out of him as a whole has been solid. So I'll go with Gibbs, and I expect them both though to be around each other, and I expect them both to be fighting for a top 10.
I think you're right, and especially with some of those statistics you laid out with Bowman, which were fascinating to hear about what he's done at the Roval and what he's kind of done this year, and Gibbs as well. I think you said Gibbs has the 4th best finish in NASCAR on road courses this year. So, Mark, throwing a question over your way. How do stage breaks this weekend shift your betting process? You teased this without knowing you were going to get this question.
Dramatically.
Okay.
It's another wrinkle, right? It's just another thing that we have to put brain space towards and think about. Now, did we have to do this for the last 6-7 years, however long Stage has been around? So it's nothing new. However, we're recording Laying Coin after this, and I have to go look through every driver, or at least the top 8, and say who's points racing, who's in, who's out, look at matchups, yada, yada, look at odds. Okay, are the books taking into account that we have that this guy's points racing? Are the books taking into account AJ Allmendinger is trophy hunting and he does not give 2 shits about a single point, right? And that goes for, 28 other guys, right? Or 30 other guys. So, yes, the answer is yes, because, the Indy road course and I guess all the road courses this year have been stage caution free. And that allows us to wager feel more confident about the guys that we think are going to be fast, right? We've seen road courses for the last 6 years. Guys just flip field position, flip track position. There you go. We're on a NASCAR show.
You're in football
Mark.
Season. Yeah.
Yeah. Geez. Flip track position and hold on for dear life and completely changes the complexion of the race. So while the last, 8-10 months, all we've been talking about is how grateful we are that there are no stage cautions and we can bet it differently and feel more confident in the guys we think are going to be fast. Now the wrench is back in it. And now we just have to hope and pray that the track position game doesn't screw us and the funny business on restarts don't screw us. We saw 2 great races that went green for a long ass time, Indy Road and Watkins Glen. And I'm sad to see it go. I do not want to see heartburn turn, give me more heartburn, but that's where we're headed. So I think my overall answer to your question is yes. Will I go a little lighter because of it? Yes. Not quite super speedway light, but definitely pulling back the reins just a smidge because of the craziness.
I'm gonna clip this and text you Sunday around noon and see, did you go lighter or did you go a little heavier? Because I know how you roll. So I'm gonna definitely clip that moment. One thing for you, Phil, Parker Kligerman. He is 1 point right now outside the cut line. You have Sheldon Creed, who's 9 to the good, who he's chasing. What's your outlook on a guy like Parker Kligerman in the Xfinity race on Saturday?
Well, you're hitting me with Xfinity questions. It's not my forte. I know Mark loves that series, so I might pass on that and pass it to him. But I would say, Kligerman road course, 1 point out. I think he's in a driver's seat position. He's right there. I don't even think when they fire up on Sunday, he could be 10 points to the good. So depending on where he starts. So I'm not going to doubt Kligerman in the Xfinity series on a road course.
Well, I can't always give you heaters down the middle, knowing what to look for. I got to give you a couple curveballs to kind of keep you on your toes. So that's why I had to throw that out there. Mark, last question then for you. Monday morning headline reads:
Kyle Larson back to road course prowess.
All right. So look at that. Phil, how about you? Monday morning headline reads what?
Oh, calamity at the Roval. Ridiculousness at the Roval. I think, the stage breaks are going to bring problems with these restarts. Like Mark called it heartburn turn. I think that's a high possibility. And that would be a shame. So we'll see. I hope that's not the case, but if I'm taking a swing at a funny headline, it's possible.
I will say best advertising partnership that any NASCAR track has is that heartburn turn one. And I think last year it got changed to something like DeWalt or some other brand, but it was like, you got to keep that the heartburn turn.
Completely dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, you got to keep it there. So hopefully they go back to it. So Phil, I'm gonna throw it over to you first for the first head-to-head. Where this is the head-to-head segment. So everybody watching on YouTube, I'll have everything at the bottom of what the guys say from their plays and what they have. So what do you have here for us this weekend, Phil, from a head-to-head perspective?
So found a couple different plays that I liked. And the one I'll call out is, I liked Busher in a couple of different head-to-heads, but I won't call those out. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin over Daniel Suarez. And I said on the podcast, if you had told me at the start of the season, like I'd be on this, I'd be like, dude, no way. Because I've always been a guy that's like, Denny's all Swedish, no finish, we should say, in hockey. And like basement furniture, no finish. But when you're going up against Daniel Suarez this season, right? So you got the ability to look at 5 races at the Roval, and you've got the ability to look at 5 races this season. And I think that's going to give you a pretty good structure of like what to go off of. Suarez is not striking me as someone that I want to bet on. He finished 3rd at Indy, and outside of that, he's done nothing. And the funny thing is, he's done nothing with something. His starting positions this season, his average starting position is 6.8. That's like 2nd or 3rd in NASCAR. And yet he's done nothing with it. Average finish is 20.2. 4 of the 5 races he's finished outside the top 20. So then you're like, all right, well, how is he at the Roval? The answer is not good. 5 starts. His best finish is like a 14th place, I think. 4 finishes at the Roval outside the top 20. His average finish is 25.8, 36th here last year. He's not in the playoff hunt. This dog is just laying down, it seems like. So just pretty brutal. Then you look at Denny, and like I said, he's not blowing anybody's doors away here. But 5 starts at the Roval. He's got 2 poles, 1 top 5, 4 top 15s, and he's 5 for 5 finishing in the top 20. So, I mean, there you go right there. He's 5-0 versus Suarez at that racetrack. 2023, he's got 3 poles on road courses, 1 top 5 finish, 2 top 15s, and he's 4 for 5 inside the top 20. So I'm kind of lowering the bar a little bit here and saying like, hey, top 20s are worth it. When you're looking at 2 guys head to head and one guy can't finish in the top 20 and you see another guy's 4 for 5, man, and 5-0 against him. So overall, 5 tracks or 5 starts at the Roval and 5 this year. It's 9-1 head to head.
Wow.
Hamlin versus Suarez. So I'm going to go with Denny here in a playoff hunt.
Wow. And you got that at what price? -115 or?
It was -115 Tuesday afternoon. I don't know what it is now. I should probably look.
And what book? What book?
That was DraftKings.
DraftKings. Okay. -115 DraftKings Hamlin over Suarez. What about you, Mark? What's the head-to-head that you found this week?
I probably should have sent my plays in this week. I'm also on Denny Hamlin over Daniel Suarez. And
oh no.
Now, usually Phil is like the guy that always has backup plan. I don't have a backup plan. All right. I put enough time. I put time into these plays and doing my research, but not enough time to have a backup plan. So I'm not going to repeat everything Phil said. However, I wasn't crazy about the matchup market in general this week. I really haven't been. It feels like for the last 6 weeks, last 2 months, I just pre-practice and qualifying the matchup market. Just I haven't felt really super confident about it. But I'm going to bite on this one, and I think Daniel Suarez is not even in the same organization. So like baseball, you got like the big leagues, then you got the AAA, single A, or double A, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Daniel Suarez is so far down the pecking order compared to Denny Hamlin in the big leagues this season. It's not even close for the books to look at 1 race from this year and 1 race from last year and say, let me throw Daniel Suarez at essentially even odds against Denny Hamlin in a matchup. That's ridiculous. So obviously, Indy Road, Daniel Suarez had a great car, top 3 car. That's about it. Daniel Suarez has been hit or miss all year long. And when he hits, he's like 5th to 7th place car. And when he misses, he's literally a 28th place car. Okay. Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, is scorching hot. This dude unloads off the truck and is a top 3 car literally every week. Okay. Couple stats for you here. Sonoma led a bunch of laps early in the race, wrecked himself, dumbass. Had a great car at Watkins Glen. He was 2nd NLD speed, also finished 2nd at Watkins Glen. If you look at those 2 tracks where Denny was very good at, Daniel Suarez was terrible. 24th at Sonoma and 32nd in NLD speed at Watkins Glen. and a place that he won at last year in Sonoma came back with an absolute dump truck of a car. So I'm taking in a little bit of recent momentum here, a little driver form, as our buddy Fantasy Racing Cheat Sheets likes to call it. So I'm taking Denny. The fact that this is even close to even money is ridiculous. I do not think Daniel Suarez brings the road course equipment / skill / whatever you want to call it this weekend at the Roval. And oh, by the way, I just want to emphasize how bad he is at the Roval. Yes, I'm pretty sure he does have at least one shitbox start at the Roval, but that's besides the point. 4 out of 5 finishes outside the top 20 in an average finishing position at the Roval of almost 26th place. So give me Denny Hamlin. I don't care that one's racing for points and one's not.
So what do you guys think? Hamlin poll, is that a good bet to kind of lay down? SC and YouTube's asking yes, no, something like that.
I mean, 60% hit rate this year. So
true. That's true.
I don't hate it. A little sprinkle.
Okay. Big Ross says if Denny qualifies well, stays out, he should grab stage points, kind of to what you were saying there about in that conversation against Suarez.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that if he starts up front, he absolutely, and even if he starts in 12th and a lot of the guys in front of him pit, he's probably going to go for, a point. If he can win the stage, absolutely he's staying out.
Sure.
At the same time, I do not care. I am still taking Denny. If you tell me right now that Denny Hamlin's going to stay out to win stage 1 and then restart in 25th, I'm still taking Denny in this.
Yeah, Denny is basically all he has to do is start, and he's locked in. He's got a 53 point, I think 60 or 65 is the most he can get. Somebody can get in a race. So he's pretty much locked into the round of 8. Looking at the next topic of conversation, the finishing position. And Mark, I'm going to stay with you. Curious what you found in this specific market. Did you find anything that you liked? Top 10, top 5? You've been hitting that top 5 market since Rob got you on it. So where are we at this week? Tell me, top 5? Is that where we're going?
We're not going to top 5.
Okay.
I thought about it. I did have a little Kyle Larson plus 150 top 5 in my bet slip.
Oh.
I did not click submit yet. Did not pull the trigger. So I'm going back to old reliable, the top 10 market, and I'm going to take Kyle Busch at even money on Bet365 to finish in the top 10. Now, unless something ridiculous happens, it appears to me that Kyle is going to either have to win or finish like top 3, top 2 in both stages and the race to, unless, people wreck, right? But to advance to the next round, he needs a lot of work. And I think it depends on how stage 1 goes. If stage 1 goes well for him, let's say he is in the top 3, he finishes that out. And I think he points races, and it depends on what other guys do. Other than that, I think he's going for the win here. So if you give me 10 spots, I'm okay with it. Now, last year, Tyler Reddick had the 3rd best car, according to NLD Speed, at Roval. And we've talked about it on the show before. The places that Reddick was good, Kyle has been pretty good. Example A was Auto Club, and then we saw it a few more times throughout the year. Now, Kyle's track history here at the Roval, it's not great. It actually kind of sucks donkey doo-doo. But we don't have to live in the ancient past of the Gen 6 car, okay? We're gonna look at this year. We're gonna look at recent history. And he's had good to great speed on each and every road course this year. So NLD speed rankings of 6th, and 7th at Coda, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen. He finished 2nd, and 5th in those 3 races, and was also running top 5 at the Indy Road Course before the numbnuts who produced these spec parts for NASCAR decided to give Kyle the defective one. So that's 4 out of the 5 road course races that he had an absolute top 10 car, probably a top 5 to 7 car. And I expect that to continue. I'm also taking into account Kyle's need to run up front, finish up front, and potentially win the race. And the books are giving us even money for a top 10. So give me a little KFB top 10er even money.
Yeah, what other show you're going to find where you're getting good statistics about a driver and you're also getting doo-doo nuts? So you can't really beat that. So good analysis there, Mark. Phil, how about you? What have you found from a finishing position prop?
Yeah, well, like I said to kind of start the show, I mean, I was pretty pumped up to see the top 10 market playable this week because I'm a big top 10 bettor. And when I was recording my podcast, the best numbers I saw out there, the only numbers for top 10s were on DraftKings. And I was saying on the pod, I'm kind of hoping that these guys, because I was kind of surprised that the guys that I was talking about were still bettable. It's like, man, as the week goes on, we might see better numbers on them. Well, sure enough, 24 hours, 30 hours later, here we are, and we are getting some better numbers here. So the guy I'm going to talk about is Ty Gibbs, because on DraftKings, he's minus 125. And you can get him. I'm just pulling that up. I think I saw plus 110 on Bet Rivers. Plus 115 on Bet Rivers, plus 110 on MGM. And I'm digging that. Plus money for Ty Gibbs. So you take a look at last year, and he's in a fill-in role, not even a true rookie at that point. He starts 16th, good practice, good qualifying, ends up finishing 22nd. I don't remember what happened to him in the race, but I'd say for a kid in that circumstance, serviceable. You look at 2023, he has been top 10 in NASCAR as the fucking Phillies just drop a ball. He's 10th in driver rating on the 5 road courses. But you take that and you have him finishing, his average finish number is 10.6. That's 4th in NASCAR.
Yeah.
So he's kind of doing more with less, I guess you could say. I mean, he's the 4th car on that team. 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 4 top 15. So he's been in that hunt for, again, just a top 10 finish. And there's 3 drivers in NASCAR that have gone 5 for 5, top 20. Again, lowering the bar a little bit, but still keeping it clean enough to finish in the top 20. And he's one of them. 3 guys in the sport. So to me, that has my attention. And he's also, looking at the total speed, been getting faster as the year's gone on. Watkins Glen was one of his fastest tracks of the year. So he's learning, car's getting better. And I think top 10 numbers, generous. I think the stats that he's putting out are good enough to maybe take him top 5. So I'm comfortable with plus money for a top 10 on Ty Gibbs.
And I think you said it too. I can't remember if you said it last night or if Brian said it this morning, but he's getting better. And, this is his full regular season rookie year, whereas last year he was filling in for Kurt, but he's getting better. That 54 car is definitely getting better. And this is his strong suit of his racing, what he's been able to do. We saw an Xfinity won at Daytona road course back when he was whatever numbers were posted out there for people that jumped on him, I'm sure were high. But this is a guy that knows how to get it done in these types of tracks. So I think that you laid it out very well there. And again, anybody listening on YouTube or Twitter or X Spaces, I should say, curious to hear what you guys think. What's some of these outrights, some of these finishing. What are you guys on? What are you analyzing? We'll get everything read up here, whether it's on YouTube or on X. Phil, staying with you, outright perspective now. Where are we going from an outright? What number have you found? You looking at the top of the odds board, something in the middle, or are you taking a long shot?
Well, I'm reserving the right to, I don't really want to take a long shot. I just looking at it, there's some guys you could probably sprinkle on, like, further down the list. I mentioned Kyle Busch, and Mark just touched on him. I didn't see where Bell's number was, but I'm sure it's like, double digits further down. Guys like that, I could probably be convinced if someone wanted to make a case. But for me, what I was looking at was more chalky, and it was more so like, keep it simple, stupid. Michael McDowell, he's 9-1. And we talked about him a little bit ago when we were doing like the rapid fire segment. And he kind of let us down at Watkins Glen, but there was just like, he just had like Murphy's Law going on at Watkins Glen. Like anything that could go wrong did go wrong for that team. And, it could have just been like road course fatigue. Like he was just really good all year. And, now we've had a little bit of a break from the road courses. They're getting back at it. And looking at it, this racetrack, the Roval, hasn't been great to McDowell, 21.0 average finish. But I've bet on McDowell to win head-to-heads over the last few years at this racetrack, and, it's hit. So 0 top 10s at the Roval. But 2023 for Michael McDowell is just all around different. He's got the win, 3 top 10s, 4 top 15s. Average finish is 8th. His driver rating is 1st in NASCAR, 107.2. His total speed is 1st. He's the only driver, if you're looking at the total speed rankings, that is in the top 10 every race that we've been to, all 5. And the last 4, he's been in the top 5 total speed rankings. So, I mean, his car has speed when we go to these tracks. And it's also not a situation where, oh, well, he's out of the playoffs, not really interested in him. He's shown up. Like, what comes to mind for me is like he was dead in the water at Bristol and he performed his ass off. And then this round, like he's been, pretty good. I forget what started this round. Was it Kansas? And then Kansas. Last year, I mean, he was last week, he's always a factor at super speedway. So McDowell is someone that is not just going to lay down and die. He is proven. So I think this is trophy hunting for him, and 9-1 on the best driver in the sport, driver rating and speed wise this season. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think you laid out some good analysis there when it comes to McDowell, and McDowell's just been strong. That 34 team, really strong. They didn't get the finish at Watkins Glen that they should have, running really well, having a car issue, having a pit issue, which kind of, tacked on there. But one thing, and then Mark, I want to hear what you have to say, but one thing Rob Cornelius, which appreciate you, Rob, listening in, says is, buy almost all top 5 and top 10s at MGM this week. They've been dropping great lines, but not until Fridays typically. This week they dropped last night. So this is why we always talk about shopping around, finding the best line, which will do you favors going down the road, especially if you're looking to do this more in a serious way next year. So Mark, curious to hear from you. What has been an outright number that you found that you're like, I got to have this?
Well, I just want to start by saying that I felt like this is definitely low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
But I'm going with Red Dog, Tyler Red Dog Reddick. And I tweeted out a picture last night of everyone's favorite drunk sports book ever since they decided to get out of the business. And they have since changed about 95% of their odds, but Cody Ware is still 18-1. So I'm going with Cody. No, I'm just kidding. You can still get Cody Ware at 18-1 on Barstool as of this very second. So anyway, Tyler Reddick was 8.5-1 on Barstool last night. I got down on it. And the reason is there are so many stats that I'm about to rattle off that you just don't listen, just trust me, okay? So first and foremost, he's first in Highline's model, and the little metric score that he has next to it is not close. It's like 2.5 points off. Usually when we're at this point in the week, the top 2 to 3, maybe even 4 guys are all within like a point and a half. Not this week. The Highline model loves Tyler Reddick. Obviously, he won at Road America last year. He won COTA this year. Phil was talking about his Michael McDowell's overall speed ranking. Well, Zach with Highline does a little spin on his. So he actually has Reddick first, McDowell second in overall speed ranking this year on road courses. I'm not saying Phil's wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's the data I'm looking at. Also add the Roval in last year to the NLD speed ranking. So it's a little bit different, but mostly the same. Tyler Reddick also has the best average running position on road courses this year. And if you bring in all of last year's road courses, that's 12 races or maybe 11 races. I think this might be the 12th. Maybe this is the 13th. Anyway, he also has the best average running position for 2 years running on road courses and third in average finish. Also had an NLD speed of third last year at the Roval. And if you really want to lay the hammer down on this stat, in the last 5 Roval races, which I think is all of them, Reddick is third in average running position and second in average finish. And what's even crazier than that is Alex Bowman has the best average finish in the entire Cup Series since the induction of the Roval. So there's a lot of first, a lot of second, a lot of thirds that I just threw out there. Tyler Reddick, road course guy. I really thought he was going to be the favorite this week. I really did not think William Byron was going to be up there. I really didn't think the books were going to think that Chase Elliott was going to be back in action this week as the favorite. But, Mickey Mouse, NASCAR's favorite driver. The fans' favorite driver. But I thought it was a little interesting. I didn't think we were going to have the ability to bet Tyler Reddick at this point in the week. I really thought that it was going to be that 3.5 to 4-1, maybe 4.5 to 1 range. And when I saw 8.5 to 1, I jumped all over it. So Am I going to get burned on this low hanging fruit? Maybe. But there's no way that I can stare at these numbers, these models, and not bet Tyler Reddick 8.5 to 1.
You know what? You're almost guaranteed, and we're not guaranteed anything in betting, nor when we're betting, obviously, on NASCAR, but you're almost guaranteed that he qualifies well. We know that that car has speed. We saw it last year. We see it this year. We know what he's been able to do over the last couple of years, especially in this Gen 7. I think that number right there, if 8 to 1 is still out there, 9 to 1, or what we're seeing on YouTube, some wild numbers, grab that. I don't think that's bad to have on your card. I really think it comes down to 5 drivers this weekend, which is a great betting thing for us to be able to kind of go through with some of these teams and drivers that are maybe doing different strategies, or hey, they're working on something else, they're kind of checked out a little bit. I really think it does come down to 5 cars, and 2 of them, which you guys said. The one thing as well with the Barstool posting that, whoever the operator is that posted that, I really wouldn't bet anything on Barstool right now until they add Chase Elliott, because where Cody Ware is placed, I think what it was 18 to 1. They just didn't put Elliott, and I don't like betting or people betting a book. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, they actually added Chase Elliott. I'm looking at it right now. Okay. So Elliott's the favorite at 6 to 1, and then Reddick and Byron at 7. But that's Cody Ware is still on the board. I just have to say that.
That's right. You did say that they changed it about 95%. They've changed it. They left the Cody Ware thing up. Cody Ware even being listed is wild after everything that happened to him this year. So, all right. So then that will conclude the outright perspective there. How about a best bet? And Phil, I want to throw it over to you. Curious to hear, what have you found? What's that one play on the board where everybody listening on YouTube, podcast form, X Spaces, you want them to say, hey, go find this number. This is something that you feel really confident in.
Well, you know what's funny is the best bet that I had written down was something that the chat called out. So I'll make it quick, and then I'll just throw an extra one in there. But it's Tyler Reddick future bet, listed as 18 to 1 on Caesars to win the championship. And you know, one of my favorite bets ever was when I took Chase 20 to 1 to win the championship, and he went out and won Martinsville and then won Phoenix. And I'm not saying it's as easy as that, because there's a lot of work to do, but to get in, I mean, you're essentially saying, like, who's going to win a head-to-head matchup, Reddick or Keselowski? And the answer is Reddick. And so they're both the same number, 18 to 1 to win the championship. That's craziness. Reddick, if it comes down to those two, Reddick is in. Like, his average starting position, you just called it out, 3.2 this season. You know what Keselowski's is? I can bring that up for you. 24.2. They're going to start much differently than the cut line is right now. And this is just, something that I think is a good situation. Phillies just went up 1-0.
That's good.
All in all, good vibes there. So the chat called it out. I think SC called it out. Someone else said it as well. I forget who it was, but that's something to look at. Like, if you like, trying to find value, because if he does make it in, I can't see him being at 18 to 1 next Monday. So the other best bet is something any way, shape, or form on Chris Buescher. He's plus money for a top 10. And a top 10 Chris Buescher on road courses this season is essentially an auto bet ever since like last season. He snapped his top 10 streak at Indy, I believe, but backs it up with a 7th place at Watkins Glen. At the Roval, historically in 5 races, not so great. Last 2, he finished 3rd and 6th. So it's just a situation where he's the best average finish in NASCAR through 5 races in 2023, 8.0, 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, just really good numbers. He's 5 for 5 top 15, and just, love the fact that he's plus money for a top 10, but, look for head-to-head matchups, right? He's up against Blaney on DraftKings. I would search around a little bit and see who else you can kind of play him against, because Blaney actually does have some sneaky good numbers at the Roval, and he's got nothing to lose. So you don't know how that's going to work out. But Buescher, top 10 is the other best bet that I have, and maybe find someone else to, pin him up against.
What about you, Mark? What's been a best bet that you found that, hey, this is something that you're putting your stamp of approval on?
It's funny you said that the way you said it, because it's not necessarily a best bet, nor is it a value bet. Well, it could be a value bet, I guess. It depends on how you look at it. How could Mark, SKYBOX, How could anybody associated with the SKYBOX name come to a road course and not bet ringer dinger? Okay. I mean, I don't have any numbers. He's fourth in Highline's model. I love betting AJ Allmendinger. He finished in the top 5. I think he finished 4th here last year. He's going for the win. He's trophy hunting. The only thing that's holding back right now is colleagues bringing a hunk of shit from the North Carolina wrecked car auction house to all these road courses this year. If they would just give them whatever mojo they had for the Gen 6 car at road courses, just please bring that back. But I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope it's this week. I'm taking AJ Allmendinger. The best, I waited. I haven't looked at shit until last night, earlier today. Best number I could find AJ at was 12. I'm pretty sure I saw a 14 floating around out there. Rob, I know you're listening. Go find the best number on AJ. You probably already have it in your mountain of notes and throw it in the chat. AJ Allmendinger, best bet, value bet, ringer bet, every road course, annual, weekly, monthly, quarterly bet. AJ Allmendinger 12-1.
Okay, so AJ Allmendinger, was not expecting that to be the name that was going to be dropped, but you might be having a little heartburn watching on Sunday, so that might play into that there. So obviously, good conversations that you had here with you and Phil, and the chat was just buzzing here on YouTube, and seeing a lot of people throw some stuff over here on X Spaces as well. So what we're going to do, Phil and Mark, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add here from a, standpoint of, chiming in, anything we missed. Obviously, Phil, you said the Phillies are up. What is it? 1-0, 2-0? What happened?
They're up 2-0 now. Turner had a comebacker, hit the pitcher in the ass, and Schwarber's fat ass scored from second. So 2-0 Phils. Yeah, we're pumped right now.
Lots of ass all around. So, okay, good. So they're up 2-0. That's good. So anything we missed, Phil, or anything you wanted to touch on before we let the YouTube audience go?
No other like bets to call out, but just like super reiterating, like, if you're tuning in and this is like the first few times you've ever heard this show, practice and qualifying, like take note of what the odds are now, take note of what things are, and jump on some things after you see guys that we weren't expected to have some speed. Take a look, and find what people are putting out there. Tune into Chris's pre-race poll, see what people are on after that, because there is money to be made on road courses after that for sure. You can make that case for mile and a halves as well, but I've had success this year doing that. So definitely keep your eyes peeled and look at that data Monday or Sunday morning. What
about you, Mark? Anything that we missed, or something you saw in the chat, or anything that caught your eye at all?
I think I might be. I think that there is opportunity from the 12-1, 14-1 range to like the 28 to 30-1 range. There could be some absolute stupid shit go on in this race, and with or without stages, but with stages even just amplifies it. And there are some heavy hitters that are within that range. Hamlin, Truex, who both had great cars. Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, who I think all of us are kind of sitting and waiting with our hands in our pants, waiting for Ty Gibbs to, not like that. I know he's still a young kid, but golly, not that. Sitting on my hands. How about that? Yeah. Let me take myself out of that one. We're waiting for Ty Gibbs to be what we think he's going to be. And there's a lot of buzz around him. And I do think that this week could be an opportunity for Ty Gibbs to come out and shine. He's got nothing to lose. It's a road course. He's, he won his first start ever on a road course. So I think there's opportunity from that 14-1 to 30-1 range with some heavy hitters that could legitimately win this race.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think it's a playoff guy, and I throw Chase in there. Chase Elliott is at 4th right now in the owner's points run, and he's arguably one of the best road course guys in the sport. Has not won in the Gen 7, should have won the Roval last year. after a dominating performance. So, he would be the only non-driver point playoff driver that I think could win this weekend. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what breaks down and what happens. So, but it'll be a lot of fun. And again, I think the information that you guys laid out is good. So appreciate all the conversation there. So let's do this. We're going to transition over to anybody that's listening to X Spaces right now. We're going to kind of get any listener questions you might have. We'll take a couple minutes. Then we'll get out of here, maybe 10 minutes or so. So if anybody has anything, make sure you work your way over there for that audience, which would be great. So button and we'll be good to go.